Hi guys, I'm Mike and welcome back to the channel, and apologies, was having a bit of a mic issue. So today I look like your kind of local worker in your McDonald's drive-through going here. But what I've got to deliver you today is Simon Pagenaud. So yeah, another driver interview. Simon, welcome to the channel.
Thanks for having me, Michael. Excited to be on the show. Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. No problem at all. So obviously, yesterday you were in Daytona for the 24. I think that's a good start. You guys start P4. Obviously, you always want to start as high as possible, but within 24 hours in a race, it's yeah. How are you guys feeling? New team. Obviously, last year you were with the 48 Cadillac entry. Now you're with Meyer Shank, as you are in Indycar.
Yes, a lot of new things for me in 22, but a lot of exciting stuff. We obviously first time with Meyer Shank Racing in the sports cars, back with Acura, who I like to remind everyone, Acura was really at the beginning of the rise of my career in 2008. So I've had the chance to drive every single prototype they made until now. So it's exciting to be back with them and helping them perform at the top level. I would say at Meyer Shank Racing yesterday discovered communication between drivers and engineers, mechanics. It was obviously it's a brand new lineup with Blomqvist, Jarvis, Castroneves, and myself. And yesterday was really a warm-up race for us, and it was really good. I think the car has a lot of pace. We had an aggressive strategy on fuel saving to try and get a yellow at the right time. No yellow came out, so we had to save a lot at the end. But it helped understanding how much fuel we can save during the 24 hours and what's achievable, what's not. So all in all, it was very positive and a good start. Certainly a lot of learning.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is exciting, and it must feel so weird. You're going to spend so much time with Elio this year in sports cars and in IndyCar. You can't get away with him. That kind of little bundle of energy that is Elio Castroneves.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's not a bad thing to be around him. I tell you, he brings such a good mood to the team. Great atmosphere. He's a great asset in that way. Just positive vibes, and I must say it's quite enjoyable to feel that vibe in the race team right now. It's a strength.
Brilliant. And we were kind of talking off screen in yesterday before the recording started. You said it was kind of quite cold in Daytona. Obviously, you weren't in the car for qualifying, but going into the race next week, it's expected to be kind of similar sort of temperatures, if not colder. How's that kind of going to affect the race for you guys? And obviously, what are your obviously, every expectation is to go in and win. Elio won it last year with Wayne Taylor Racing, didn't he? And he'll be hungry to kind of add to it. But you guys have kind of both, well, throughout your career, you've been very successful in sports cars as well as kind of Indy cars. And obviously, Elio has found success within sports cars in his later part of his career. But what's the kind of expectations? You said whole new lineup, but you guys going in very confident of what you can achieve next weekend?
Yeah, I think we've got a very strong lineup. The drivers are on par with each other. So I think that's a big strength. The Acura is a great weapon as well for the Daytona 24. We saw it last year. So at the end of the day, I mean, we just need to be there in the last hour and be in contention with no damage on the race car. A splitter that's in good shape, so we have plenty of front downforce, and go and attack in the last hour. It's really going to be about execution until then, and then try to have a go at it. But I feel like we can be there. I feel like the race team is strong enough to do that. Obviously, we're still learning a lot of things, but overall, the potential is there to contend for the win. I never like to say try and win it, because you never know what can happen. But 24 hours, a long race, lots of factors to come in play. But I think we have a shot.
Do you get that same sort of, obviously you've competed in, major races around the world. Obviously Indy 500, you've competed in the most regular, but you've competed Le Mans as well. This is the biggest endurance race in America. Like, do you get, is there a same sort of atmosphere around that type of thing? Obviously, it will be different to the kind of cauldron that is kind of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but do you get that real buzz ahead of a 24 weekend? It kind of really kicks off the racing year, doesn't it?
Well, it's the first race of the year, so there's always a bit more buzz. I would say a little bit more buzz from the fans and a little bit more nerves for the drivers also, because, you want to shake off the rust and you want to start the season on a good note. So personally, it's a race that, have eluded me. I finished second too many times. And, the more you do it, the more you want it, and the more stressful it gets. So it's the way it is. But I've actually found it easier to be a rookie, not knowing really what you get into. Sometimes you just do your job, don't think about anything else. But it is one of the biggest races in the world. And certainly at this point of my career, it's like a hunting board. You want to check the boxes.
Want to tick one off the list and add another trophy to that kind of impressive cabinet you've already got.
Yes, absolutely. I need another one.
Well, yeah. So you tactically put that in the back, Simon, and going, "Oh, sorry, have I won these?" Yeah, my background's a door, not quite as impressive there. So we'll go with that. People compare their backgrounds that they prefer. But how I'll link it into IndyCar. So obviously, what I love about the IndyCar drivers, the opportunity is you get to, I almost describe it as like an old style, always used to be in the 60s, 70s, 80s. You're a race car driver. If it had wheels on it, you went and drove it. And, IndyCar drivers have that opportunity with sports car. Obviously, you came IndyCar into sports cars, back into IndyCar kind of full time. What's the main difference and kind of skill set that you have to take from your sports car racing as opposed to growing up through single seaters?
Well, I tell you, what's really helped me in IndyCar is the experience I got from sports car, setting up the engine and all the electronics that goes with it today. Simple example: the throttle is a throttle by wire these days in most cars, but in sports cars and Indy cars, you can pretty much calibrate the engine to your liking. In sports cars, you can do a lot more things with setting up traction control, and it's quite complex systems. You can do change the engine braking, the fuel economy of the car also with different throttle calibration. So I learned a lot in the sports car era on the technical side of things. And I was very lucky that when in 2008 everything was pretty much open, we had a tire competition. So we were developing tires, we were developing aerodynamic as well. So we had updates every weekend. And on the other side, we had the engine as well. When I came to IndyCar, the fortunate timing for me was that the DW12 just arrived in 2012. And we had to develop the new V6 engine with Honda. And that was a strength that I developed throughout my career with Acura, and I was being used to do that with Honda, and that was really cool. It definitely helped my career in IndyCar, having this skill set. And I've always been a driver that's very technical, very analytical, rather than relying fully on talent. So it's a fine balance, right? You need to rely a lot on your talent sometimes and less on technical, but I would say that throughout my career, it's been a trend that allowed me to show some strength.
That's really interesting in terms of that technical. Would you say, well, you said it was always a kind of love of technical, but would you find that sports car kind of really embedded that love of the technical sides in you? Because obviously I would assume coming through the junior categories, going from there, it was more just about, heck, I'm racing cars. This is good fun. And then the technical was like, okay, this is serious. Like there is a lot that I've got to kind of get my head around. Would you say that's where it kind of really, started foundation wise?
Yeah, it's absolutely right. 2008 was the discovery for me of all the technical side when I joined Acura and Gilles de Ferran Motorsport. Gilles de Ferran obviously is a very cerebral driver, extremely intelligent. I do believe Gilles has an engineering degree, actually. and Gilles was fascinating me with these discussions with the engineers. And I could feel everything he was saying. but describing it with a different thing, and knowing how to explain what we needed to go faster was another thing. So we had a lot of dinners, just talking about the technical aspect of it all, and I was into it. It kind of was a natural thing for me, but obviously I had a great teacher.
Nice. That's so fascinating. And that's, funnily enough, like another connection, isn't it, between you and Elio? Obviously, he was driving with him while he was still in Indycar in the Penske days. So, yeah, that's, I imagine you share stories of Gilles. You got Gilles at very different stages of your career. I must imagine it must be kind of fascinating to kind of see the comparisons of where he was when you both were racing with and against him.
Yes, absolutely. And Gilles is the one that introduced me to Elio. So it's an interesting triangle there. They're two Brazilian. Well, I guess Gilles is half French, so that kind of works perfect.
That's why he's the bridge. He's the bridge.
French, he's the bridge, exactly.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, so we'll focus more on IndyCar as we are in Indy Fanatics. Otherwise, people will go, are you going to talk about sports car racing the entire one? Well, I thought it was the most relevant. Technical aspects of there, saying you love a technical. One of, obviously, the technical innovations / safety innovations was the introduction of the aero screen, and I thought it was quite an interesting one because at the end of the 2020 season, you spoke quite openly about the kind of struggle, and I just wanted to kind of talk about how that affected the balance, because obviously you won the championship in 2016, you had 2 runners-up since then, and then 2 8th place finishes. They're not bad at all. You're still being very competitive on the level, but clearly that it was quite a big shift and balance that Ganassi seemed to have got a hold on better than any of the kind of Andretti and Penske's. Of how was it as a driver, and what kind of difference did it make?
So it's another great question. I tell you, you got to remember, 2020 was the year that we had the COVID situation. So we had 1 day of testing before the season started with the aero screen. That was, I believe, in February. And then after that, we basically waited for the season to start very late. And development was difficult because we didn't really had any data points. So we went on with the season, and realization through the race weekend was that it added a lot of understeer to the car because it added so much weight to the front axle that it made the car very stable on the entry of the corner, but push in the center. And push is not my favorite thing. So now, how do you fix that on race weekend? When you have short sessions, especially in 2020, the session got shortened, the weekend got shortened. So all of a sudden you don't have test sessions to practice sessions to actually make changes to the setup. So you're running the setup you were running the year before that, right? Because that's your starting point. That's where you knew you were okay the year before. So you go through the season trying to make changes, and it couldn't get quite confusing. So toward the end, we got more competitive, but that understeer level was so high for me that I couldn't get out of the corner quick enough. So we had revamped the setups for me, especially during the 2021, I would say, winter. And we got much more competitive in 21. We had some issues mid-season with some mechanical problems that cost us a lot of points. But overall, I think my 2021 season was much stronger, much more where I need to be. Was it enough? No, because I want to win the championship. But we still had progress to make.
Yeah, absolutely. And was the adaptation a lot easier to make on ovals? Obviously, I remember watching the Iowa win. That's got to be a great win in terms of when you kind of came from the back and won race 1 there, other than the fact that you knew that you had to try and come from the back the next day as well.
Yes.
And, was ovals kind of easier to kind of get over the issues the oversteer was causing with the setups, or is it just something that you've kind of naturally transpired to that the ovals you just felt more comfortable in those 2 seasons?
On the oval, it didn't affect us at all. I felt like, if anything, we were just as strong or stronger even, because it added stability to the race car, and that went in our direction. the setup we had. So again, it's just circumstance. It just fell in our lap a little bit. But it was a big issue on road course and street course rather than oval was okay. It's interesting, obviously, if you think about that, you put the aero screen onto the car for any competitors, it added stability. So at high speed, adding stability makes things a little bit easier. So I would explain it that way.
Nice. Makes a lot of sense in terms of there. So I think transferring onto ovals, a place that obviously makes you very happy, a month that makes you very happy, month of May in Indianapolis. Obviously, you finally ticked off that in the trophy cabinet in 2019. Yes. What is it about Indianapolis? Obviously, third this year as well. It just kind of, even despite Penske's qualifying kind of issues that you had the past couple of years, like, what is it about Indianapolis that's just clicked and you now just feel lightning there?
It's interesting. Sometimes there are some things that are very difficult to explain. But
I just want to make really difficult questions for you to explain. That's my pure task today.
That one I would say is the feel with the racetrack, quite frankly. There are tracks that you go to and you feel comfortable, and there are other tracks where there's 2-3 corners that cause some real issues and it's difficult to adapt to. Indy for me has always been an oval I felt at home, and it's got the feel I like. It's got the thinking process that I like, of being very detailed, very precise, trying to find the last little bit. And on an oval, it's very different at this speed, especially super speed, where you're working in prevention, not in reaction. So, we saw the Rally Monte Carlo this weekend. These guys work in reaction. They slide the car, then they react to it, because they can also catch the car. On an oval, you go so fast, close to 400 an hour. If the car goes and slide, you can't control it. So you need to stay right below that limit. And how could you run at that limit being comfortable is the key. And throughout my years, I've gathered confidence, but also confidence in my work process throughout the 2 weeks of preparation. And now I'm at a level where I know where the car needs to be in practice, so I'm going to be okay in the race. I know what and how the car needs to be in traffic versus being alone, which is a very different thing. And I think it helps me because I have a good understanding of that threshold, I would say. And Indy is a very interesting one. It's a beast of its own.
Yeah, it is a race like no other, I would say. Just how long it's been running, and the fact that it kind of almost still feels in some cases bigger than the championship because of just the gravity of the event of it is kind of crazy, isn't it? But I suppose it's always an interesting one talking to drivers from Europe. Obviously, like me, I'm in the UK and you're from France, in terms of we grow up very much on road and street courses over here, and jumping on an oval, it's quite a big step. And what you've kind of obviously found a love of it, but how was it, that kind of initial step of kind of going, right, we're just going round in circles? Are you sure? And then you're going, oh, okay, this is harder.
Yeah, it's obviously when I always had a dream of winning Indy, and I always had a dream to race in America in Indycar series. And I knew, the pinnacle of the series was to win the 500. So, when I was looking for a ride early on, I was like, well, I'm not going to have a choice. I'm going to have to be good on oval. And I have no idea what an oval is. The first test was something I remember my whole life, thinking I was sideways, and I wasn't. And also my first start in Indianapolis in 2012 was a realization also that there was a lot of work to do. But I'm somebody that's super methodical, so I took it step by step, try not to crash, so then I wouldn't take a step back. And slowly I gained confidence and I got better at it. But the biggest improvement was going to Penske and realizing when I got to drive Helio's car and Montoya's car that, okay, what I was looking for actually was real. because up until then I had no teammates. So I had no reassurance that what I was looking for in an oval was actually the right thing. Then when I got to Penske, that's when I realized, okay, I'm on the right path. I just now need to work on my craft. And that was really the next step. And from there, I took it to another level. And then we'll see what I can do with Meyer Shank Racing. I'm sure the car will feel very different. So probably going to have to do quite a bit of work on setup.
Well, yeah. And obviously, you know, being the current holders of the Indy 500, I guess it breeds that ambition. You know, a lot of people would have said leaving Team Penske, most successful Indy 500 team history. Elio, no chance of winning 4 kind of Indy 500s. Well, nobody told Elio that clearly. So I guess you're hoping to emulate the same and go, when you were charging through the field late last year, you go, this time hopefully I kind of lead out on top. But yeah, I guess that kind of, you've left Team Penske and you left your race engineer, Ben, haven't you? Which obviously you had a long-standing relationship. What's it like leaving Penske, that's been a home for you in the series for so long now, and obviously where you've achieved your kind of success within the series, and moving to Meyer Shank? What has that kind of transition been like?
Well, it's like jumping in a deep end, that's for sure. 7 years with a race team, and a race team of the tenure of Team Penske. It's a long time. It's a lifetime in racing, quite frankly. And we've achieved so much. You know, I've won so many races, championship and the 500. There's a lot of extremely good memories. But you know, this is a next chapter of my career. It's a time where, at this point of my career, what else can I do, right? And this new challenge was something super interesting, because I wanted to be involved in a new cycle. And Meyer Shank Racing is at the beginning of a cycle, and I wanted to be at the beginning of something new. So being beside Elio gives me confidence in that process. But it can be very interesting to be fully involved like this, being part of developing a team, bringing them to the top level. I'd love, my dream is for Meyer Shank Racing to become a top team in the very near future and be with them doing it. That would be such a sense of achievement. So that's pretty much what's going on right now. It's quite a bit more work, because I'm very involved, and I would say I'm trying to infuse myself in the race team and trying to create that chemistry with everybody. So the vibe is great. I would say we're starting with all the ingredients to make a good recipe, but we'll see where we can take it. But it's a challenge that gives me a smile and that I really want to pursue.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say. I've seen you kind of had an interview, I think, with a racer as well, in terms of how you talk about it. And it's very interesting seeing you talk about it in terms of, it's not really viewing it as almost like a step down and going from there. It very much for you is this almost reinvigorates the next stage of your career and taking the lead and what you can do alongside of that. And obviously the familiarity of Elio alongside you feels good, but it's very much to go, hey, you know what, I'm still wanting to achieve things within IndyCar, and I want to do that with Meyer Shank Racing. And I think, yeah, you know, as a team, they've come leaps and bounds in the last 5 years, accumulating with that, obviously, Indy 500 last year. And they've showed impressive stuff within the championship. And you clearly feel, I was reading, your kind of what you wanted from this next stage, both you and Meyer Shank's kind of philosophies lined up very quickly.
Yeah, very much so. It's the first conversation with Mike on the phone. The first thing I asked is, what's your vision of the team in the next 5 years? And I got to talk to Jim Meyer, the co-owner as well. And I really liked, first of all, the way they talked to me and the way that they wanted me to be involved. That was the ticket for me. And then knowing Elio was going to be by my side was, okay, if he's done it, then there's something great here to do together. So let's go, let's do it. And, you know, obviously there was a lot more thinking about it than just that. But yeah, sometimes you just got to take opportunities and seize it when they come.
Nice. Well, it seems an exciting partnership, and it's definitely one of the most experienced and I would say very strong partnership outside that traditional kind of top teams within the series who have shared the success within them. I mean, what realistically, I mean, you're a racing driver, so I may kind of put you in a difficult going, I want to win. Obviously, that's the goal. But what realistically is kind of the aims of this first season with Meyer Shank? Is it just very much putting your kind of feet on the floor and maybe Spectral trying to get like a podium here or there? Or, what are you kind of, without obviously sharing too much, I know you can't reveal the world to it, but yeah, what's the kind of goals for this first year with the team?
It's it's a question that a lot of people would want to get an answer to, or even myself. But quite frankly, I think the goals for this year, my goal for this year, very honestly, is I want to be the dark horse. That's going to be my goal. I don't know what that means in terms of results, and I can't put numbers on what results we're going to have in St. Pete. I only had one day of testing. Yeah. I know the potential is good. I know we can work hard at making it the best we can. My goal is to be the dark horse this year, and then in the future is to fight for the championship, obviously. Indy is a beast of its own. Indy, as you saw with Elio, you can show up, and if everything's coming together, then it can be magical. So Indy, I'll tell you, during the month of May, I'll have a good feel for it.
Yeah, obviously it's just such an unusual race with all the testing that you get to it that something might just click and something magical might happen, like you say. But yes, no, I think obviously I put you in a very difficult position there. I was expecting you to lay out each result from each race. So like St. Pete, we're going to come like just lay out the whole season for me. Just predict. I'll go down the betting shop and go, I've got this on good information. Go
maybe
from there.
Not that precise yet.
Well, St. Pete can't come soon enough. I'm kind of like excited to see where this goes with Meyer Shank. So, but yeah, I think it's a really exciting partnership, and you can just see the enthusiasm that you've got for the, I say project, because I think it still is in the project stage of it. But like you say, the ambition there is to eventually compete for a championship, which I think is very exciting to see what you can do with a very ambitious team from there. So how we're going to round off this interview, if you're all good with it, Simon, is just some kind of quick fire questions. Some of them are kind of racing related, they're just kind of the usual topics, and then some are just a little bit random in there as we go. If you do not want to answer any point, I don't think I've put any controversial ones, just say skip or move on.
Skip. Okay.
So what is your favorite track in IndyCar? If this is your favorite track of all time, you can say that, or if there's a different one, so a favorite track in IndyCar and a also different favorite track, say one or both.
Favorite event is Indianapolis event. Favorite track is Long Beach, just because of the thrill of how I feel in the race car driving around that track.
That's pretty cool. All right. So is there a different racetrack outside of IndyCar that you really enjoy that is your favorite?
Well, my home track in France, quite frankly. It's called Circuit du Val de Vienne. I don't know if you've ever been there. It's a great motorbike track.
No, I haven't.
But yeah, that track started it all for me. So it's my garden.
Well, it's a pretty big garden, Simon. Have you told the owners of the track that it's your garden?
No, it's owned by the state, so
Oh, they're very nice. But I think our first one always holds a kind of special place in your heart. That's cool. Very nice in there. Yeah. Who is your favourite driver or drivers that you have driven against / with?
Hamilton.
Oh.
Lewis. Very impressive guy. I tell you, I had the chance to race wheel to wheel with him in Assen in Formula Renault in 2003. 2003. And I was like, this guy, what? I mean, I had the perfect car that day. I was driving really well and couldn't shake him off. And then we stopped the race. And I was already very impressed with him because whatever I was doing, he had something for it. It was impressive. And we'd step out of the race car and his tires were all blistered. So clearly he didn't have as good of a car. But I was like, wow, this guy, what is this guy? And obviously he became who he became, but it was one of the coolest race I've had because it was wheel to wheel, super close. Um, and, but he was playing chess, and I enjoyed that.
That's fascinating. I wasn't expecting Lewis Hamilton to come out of that one.
Yeah.
So, no, very
Yeah.
interesting. And I'll have to see if I can scroll through YouTube and find clips of that race in there. It
Good
sounds
luck.
an exciting
It's a long
one.
time ago.
Don't test me, Simon. I'll see. And if I get a link, I'll send it to you and you can reminisce.
Yeah, send it to me. I'd love to see it again.
Now, so obviously you've been with Penske, but you're now with Meyer Shank, and I understand from the drivers that you get a company car. So has the transition happened? Do you still have a Chevy, or are you now a Honda Convert? And if you are, what car do you have or currently drive?
Well, I've negotiated with Mike Shank, and I hope that he hears this because I want to make sure he remembers. But when I win
Tag
Indy,
him in it and say get him.
yeah, when I win Indy, we've agreed that I would get an NSX, the new one. So
Nice.
it's a car that I really love, and I put me on the spot there, but we've agreed on it. So we'll see. We'll see if we can
it's public
get in
now,
the
Simon.
garage.
So it's got to happen. See, you
Might
win
hate me for
Indy,
it.
you get your NSX. Brilliant, love it.
There you go.
So, well, that kind of leads nicely into the next one is, would you rather win another 500 or another championship if you could only win one?
Well, I tell you, I want to win Indy. It's my number one priority.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a sense of achievement that I would get from winning the championship, a personal achievement that I would really enjoy.
Mm.
But I'll take Indy.
It's always a difficult one, isn't it, of balancing that kind of the consistency of winning over an entire season to just the magnitude of, winning at Indy, because it's so hard to win there, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. It's obviously winning Indy several times is you're more of a legend. Winning the championship, it's your whole work on the whole year that reflects on it. So that's the reason.
Well, I guess it would be an interesting one. It would be interesting to see who wins the championship. But, maybe a goal for you. There's been no one outside of Ganassi, Penske, or Andretti who've won the championship since 2002. So
I'm well aware. I'm well aware.
There you go. Oh, you already know the figures because you'll be in the interview like, well, since 2002, this is a pretty big deal that I've done it. Okay, so next one is last racing one is, what would you rather try out of the kind of E's, the Formula E or Extreme E?
Extreme E.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that would be fun. First of all, I love nature. I'm big into nature. I love watching the Dakar, so it would give me that feel. And the cars look pretty cool in Extreme E. It's just a great concept. I'm very interested in it.
Oh, fascinating. I thought it might be that one because I think it fascinates a lot of people in terms of what it's trying to do. Obviously, it's in its kind of teething stages, but it could be something that develops into quite a cool championship.
Yes, very much so.
For sure. So obviously you're French, you have a strong affiliation with food, and go from there. What is your favorite food, either to eat or cook?
I love, my grandma used to make these stuffed tomatoes, tomate farci in French. So it's basically a tomato that's stuffed with sausage inside. Obviously you put, your recipe that goes with it. And I love to make it now, and I try to compete with her, but she's not beatable. She's the champion of all champions.
She's always going to have more experience, Simon. She's always going to have more experience. You can't compete.
No, can't compete with grandma.
Absolutely. So I know you're a big Star Wars fan. So what is your favorite character in The Mandalorian? Or you can go expanded universe if you want.
Grogu. Grogu is my favorite. I mean, he's too cute. He's too cute.
Grogu or Norman?
I'm about to start.
Remembering Norman will probably listen.
Yeah, I hope not. We get really mad. But Grogu was fun. It was fun. It was. I enjoyed Mandalorian. I'm actually about to start the book of Boba Fett. So yeah,
4 episodes into it. So I'll be interested to know what you think of it. Go from there. So last one, interesting one. I'm trying to get you in trouble here. Who gets more attention? Your wife Haley, your son Marley, or Norman?
These days, it's my son. He gets all the attention. Marley does 100%. Whether it's from her, from me, he's even trying to get Norman's attention. And of course, his favorite person is Norman because Norman doesn't show enough attention.
He's got to fight harder for Norman's attention. That's why. There we go. He's learned already. You've got to fight for the ones that don't show. Well, Simon,
they're smart at a really young age. I tell you, impressive.
Simon, it's been absolutely fantastic. Thank you for this chat. It's been really brilliant. And what we're trying to do, so on our show, we usually end with this thing where I go, for now, you Indy fans, we just had a pop-up of Alexandra there, keep racing. So I try and get the racers to do at the end of the episodes, do it. So we've had Palou, Colton Herb to try it, Dalton try it as well. So we've got to see how you're going to compare to those guys. You know, obviously this is the most prestigious thing in Indycar that you want to finish off.
What am I supposed to say? Keep racing, but
you've got to elongate the keep. You've got to go keep, right? You've got to show lots of enthusiasm. This is your big time. This is like your big movie scene.
That's why I don't want to miss it. Can you tell me exactly how to start it?
So I'll go. So for now, you Indy fans, and then we'll go into the keep racing. All right. Okay, we've got this. I believe in you, Simon. We've got it. All right. Channel it. Let's go. All right. So thank you for today's episode. Thank you so much to Simon for joining us. But for now, you Indy fans, keep racing. Racing! Brilliant, Simon. Fantastic. You've nailed it. Thank you so much for today, Simon. It's been great fun.